Thought we were dead? Think again. Hey guys, welcome to another devlog for Field Warning. I know it's been a while since the last one, but we've just been all incredibly busy with life and other projects. But in the past month, there's been some cool developments regarding the project, which I want to show you today. So first off, we have this new weapon panel, which shows units' ammo counters and reload rate. So if I tell this unit to fire position, you can see the high explosive counter goes down and the reload rate is also displayed for the entire platoon. So if this were to be one unit, it would only have 10 out of 10. So this would scale up as the platoons are scaled up. Accuracy counters are still not implemented yet, I think. That will probably come in a future update. But besides that, there's also a unit info panel. So if I press I get this stat card similar to Wargame, which takes information straight out of the config file for the unit. So I talked about the config file in the last devlog, but basically it's a modular way of creating units. So we can combine different turrets and hulls to create unit variations, which I think modders will really appreciate. And you can specify different ranges and weapon types, accuracy as well. Oh, we do have the accuracy. It's displayed here. My bad. I don't even know my own game. But it's not displayed in the user interface while you're in the game, I don't think. So that's probably something that will come in a future update. Besides that, in the main menu, we have some different implementations. So you can now choose which map you want to start on. I'm not going to click anything now because it's probably just going to break what I'm trying to show off here later. But yeah, you can pick which map you want. You can do full feature 2, which is the one we showed off in the previous ones, which is far from complete, but that's a different topic. And yeah, basically you can start the match like that. Besides that, we have a whole bunch of new effects, like flares. So we have team-dependent flares that also cast light and have like a translucent smoke effect, and these are team dependent as well. So if I switch off to the red team, you can no longer see the flare of the opposing team, and if I place down a flare for the red team, it's now red. So that's another update we have. It's basically based on the rec kind of smoke stack we have, and the cool thing about the flare is it also, like, when I scale up the camera, the effect of the flare scales along with it, so it just makes it easier to see it from far away. Besides that, there's plenty of new explosion effects, which I'll show you now by trying to capture this zone. Right, so I'll move my bloodhounds through this forest to attack the enemy tanks on the other side. Currently, all the units we have in this prototype are just placeholders. We're just experimenting with stats. We don't actually have fleshed out units as of now, so don't pay too much attention to that. But if you want, you can just mod the config as much as you want to basically get any type of unit that you wish for. So we can finally see the enemy tanks now coming out of the forest, and as you can see, we have new explosion effects and new smoke stacks as well, and it just looks so much better than what the previous placeholder assets were looking like. I mean, there's still room for improvement, of course, but it's a nice improvement overall. And we also finally have this gameplay elements. So if I take this fast tank, which is the only unit that can capture these so far in the prototype, it's basically an objective. So whichever side controls this objective ticks up in the counter, which you can see here above, and the first team to reach the designated amount of points wins the game, basically. So we're just gonna wait for this guy to move into the zone, and you can see how that works. So if a blue unit is about to capture the command point, it basically will turn blue. And similarly, if it's a red unit that captures it, it's going to turn red. So it's team dependent to make it easily readable when you're across the map. It basically works exactly like it does in Wargame. It's just what I'm basically trying to say. And as you can see, now we're ticking at a +3, and kind of moving up fast now, but it's all for prototyping purposes. This will all get fleshed out later. So besides updates to particle effects and gameplay mechanics, we actually have a lot of progress in terms of terrain. As you can see, So previously, this is how our maps used to look like. It's just completely cartoonish and unrealistic because we were limited by the previous rendering pipeline, considering we cannot buy any external assets for that. So we made the migration to HDRP, which was discussed in previous devlogs, of course, which allows us to use these new decals. And they just contribute so much to the visual quality of the terrain system, although there's still a lot to do in that aspect. But it basically works as a multi-layered system. So we have one global decal for the entire map, which is basically just a Google Earth image. But it helps with the far out zoom to kind of mask out the tiling details of the closer looking textures. And what you may have noticed while I was zooming in and out the game view is this fade factor. So we have a attached script to this decal, which will fade out the far away decal so that it doesn't conflict with the other textures when you zoom in, and it doesn't look blurry basically because it's not really a high resolution image. And besides that, we have some noise decals that kind of add more variety to the terrain, especially in these very noticeable tiling areas. So if I enable and disable it, you can see how it helps to kind of mask out the tiling in those specific cases. And the last layer of decals is some details like the directionals here. As you can see, if I disable them, they just add some more variety to the terrain in certain places. And of course, this is just workaround until we get nodes for the shader graph, which are specific to terrain, because we still don't have them, considering that HDRP is a relatively new pipeline in the Unity engine. Besides that, the trees are still placeholders. As you can see up close, they turn pink. I explained this in the last one, but it's basically to do with the way shaders and billboarding work on HDRP. Unity promised a solution for that in the long term, but for now, all trees in the project are basically placeholders. And the reason we have these old ones is because if I replace them with shaders which are native to HDRP, which I'll show you here, the game runs at around 30 frames a second, and that's not ideal. However, with these we can show off the interaction of the trees with the fog, which is pretty cool. They just helps blend everything a bit together, and these materials, they also have translucency, so they fade light in a different type of way, whereas the previous trees, if I switch back, they do not interact with the fog, and it just looks weird, and they also are not translucent. So for now, we're just going to keep these, even though, as the name says, they're just placeholders. So the plans for the future are a bit adjusted. As you can see, we have a new map here instead of the old one that I was showing in previous devlogs, and the reason for that is because we want to release a demo in the foreseeable future. I can't really promise a timeline because of the way how the project operates, but we're gonna make like a 1v1 type of map here, which is much smaller in scope. It's only 8 by 8 kilometers compared to the 25 by 25 of the previous one. It just takes too much time to fully flesh out. And depending on how well our progress goes, we will either release a small little kind of scenario demo, or if Fate is successful in implementing Mirror, it might even be a 1v1 multiplayer demo. So that depends on how many obstacles we face along the way. However, for that planned demo, if there are any people interested, I could use a few of you with helping in fleshing out the map, because currently I have to manually paint all these terrains and farms by myself, and it's just a really tedious process, and I'd rather do more valuable tasks. It's really easy for those of you who want to contribute and don't really have any experience such as coding or modeling or whatever. This is something you can do that would actually really help me a lot. So if you're interested, just shoot me a message on Discord and I will show you the process. But it's really easy. You just click on the terrain here, you pick one of these four farm types, and you basically just try to match the color of the Google Earth image that we use, and basically follow the example as placed here to paint out the rest of the map, because there's no way I'm going to do this myself in a reasonable amount of time. But it's that easy. Like, even my grandma could do this. You just follow the outline and it's like a coloring book. So to anyone interested, I know it's really boring, but if you want to help out the project and you're not sure what to do, that's the best way to do it. So thank you for watching this devlog here. The game is progressing slowly but surely, and we'll hopefully release that demo sometime in the future. And as I said, no promises, because it's just hard to predict anything in this project, honestly, but at least we have fun doing it. So see you guys.